Hi everyone, I'm Mr. Pei. In today's video, I'm going to discuss with you example question of Physics Paper 3. So the aim of the experiment for today's discussion will be to investigate how the mass of an object affect the distance moved by the cardboard after the collection. So the aim of the experiment today is related to the syllabus of Form 4, Chapter 2, 2.5, Momentum. So without further ado, let us go through the question today. So this is the checklist for the candidate where you are required to check the apparatus and the material. Read the question and plan the experiment first in the first 5 minutes. So you have to take the checklist at the column here. If the quantity of the apparatus and material provided is correct and functioning well, you can just take all the apparatus. Okay, so the question will be like this. You are required to carry out an experiment to investigate how the mass of an object affects the distance moved by the cardboard after the correction. So with symbol D. Okay, so from this sentence actually, it tells you already the aim of the experiment. So that you need to identify the MV and RV. There is a manipulated variable and responding variable for this experiment. Okay, so the MV will be the mass of the object, and then the RV will be the distance moved by the cardboard after the correction. So basically, the question already tells you the MV and RV. And the question A will be plan this experiment using the appropriate, using the apparatus and material provided. So your procedure should be including method to handle variable, and you have to give the precaution step. So that means that in this question already tell you this is the unguided practical Amali Tidak Berpandu. So the procedure is not provided, and you need to write the procedure based on the M given and together with the apparatus and material just now we go through together. Okay, so you have to plan the experiment you're on. So in this question, you need to know the answering technique to write the procedure. So what you have to write in the procedure? Okay, so first you have to draw the correct diagram with label, and you can using the symbol to represent some of the parameter too. Okay, so the detail of the arrangement of apparatus will be shown you at the next slide. Okay, so this is the first mark you can get if you correctly arrange the apparatus. Then second and third, you have to write your first MV and RV for the experiment. So the MV here, as mentioned, this will be the mass of the bubbles. So if you look at the material checklist, there are 3 different types of marbles with different mass are going to use in this experiment. Okay, so that means that the mass will be our MV. Then you have to stack the first MV or the mass of the marbles you are going to use as your first measurement. Okay, the RV here will be a displacement distance of the cardboard. Okay, so here we need to measure the changes or the distance movement of the cardboard. Okay, then the mark number 4, you have to repeat your MV and RV. So for others marbles here, they will be glass marbles or steel marbles. If I say we start our first MV with the plastic marbles, okay, then the mark number 5 will be you have to give the precaution. So I will teach you how to get the full marks for your precaution. Okay, so now let us go through the procedure. Okay, so the tips for the procedure here. So the sentence you make must involve the physical quantity. So normally there will be the MV and RV going to measure in the experiment, and then followed by verbs and apparatus for your sentence. And the sentence suppose you have to write will be in passive sentence. Okay, so first sentence normally will be together with the arrangement of the apparatus. Okay, so you can give the sentence like this. The apparatus is set up as shown in diagram. Okay, so the apparatus will be like this. So the books here referring to the physics textbook where listed in the checklist. and then we have two ruler. So first will be placed at this shape, okay, so just above the books, okay, so and we will be placed our marbles so that your marbles will be flow down and hits the cardboard. So the cardboard will be moving behind, right? So we are going to measure the distance of cardboard moving here. Okay, so the first you have to show the correct arrangement of apparatus with label. Here I show all the label already. Okay, then as mentioned, so the second we have to give the MV and RV for the first MV and first RV for the experiment. Okay, so here the starting point of the cardboard is marked with the chalk. So the chalk you have to label your starting point. This is the starting point for the cardboard. Okay, and then the next, okay, so the marbles, okay, I start with the plastic marbles, which will be the lightest one compared to the glass marbles and the steel marbles. Okay, so the position will be here. I'll place the marbles on the ruler and release without pushing it at the starting point. Okay, so the starting point for marbles will be here. The starting point for the cardboard will be here. Okay, then the next step, the point where the cardboard moves after marble hits it is marked with chalk and measured with ruler. So that means that this will be the second point you have to label with the chalk. Okay, then you have to measure the distance between these two lines with the ruler. Okay, then we have to repeat. You have to repeat the step 2 until step 4. So that means here again you have to label. You have to put back your cardboard with the starting point where we just now measured already. Okay, and then the marbles you have to place at the same position also. Okay, same position, so that the distance from the marbles reach the cardboard is the same. Okay, so this is what actually you have to understand. Okay, so if you fulfill all of the tips just like I give you, so where you have to give first MV and first RV, then you have to repeat your step with others MV and RV, so you can get the full marks. Okay, then the sentence also asks you to give the precaution for the experiment. Okay, so for precaution, you have to use this method. You have to give the method how you can do to reduce the precaution for this experiment together with the reason. Okay, so the answer reference for here will be first, position of the eyes must be perpendicular to the scale ruler to avoid Parallel error. So you can see here the method will be position of the eyes must be perpendicular to the scale ruler. Or this is a measurement for the distance we measure from the starting point of the cardboard to the end point. So when the cardboard is hit by the marbles, okay, so this will be the end point, this will be the starting point. So when you measure with ruler, so make sure your eyes must be perpendicular to the scale ruler. So to avoid will be the reason, parallel error. Or A1 answer, please understand that the method will be method plus reason. Another reference answer will be release the marble without pushing it. This is a method. So why we want to do like this is to avoid external force adding on the marbles. So this will be the reason. Okay, so this is the way how you give the answer for precaution you want. Okay, so here you may get the 5 marks already for the first question. So where this will be the unguided practical. Amali tidak berpandu. So where you have to plan the procedure your own and together with the precaution in this first question. Okay, so let us go through the second question here. Okay, so the question B here is normally will be ask you to tabulate your result. Okay, so just now we have 2 parameters we have already go through. Okay, so this will be the mass given by the question. So the decimal place you are going to fill in must be follow the decimal place given by the question. Then the D is we measure by using ruler. So you have to follow the sensitivity of the apparatus. And normally, sure the MV and RV is not given in the question now. Okay, so that means that, so for answering technique for tabulation, first will be you have to give the quantity physics in your experiment. So here will be the mass M. Normally we're using a symbol. And the symbol is normally is provided in the question. If not, you can give the indication for the symbol you use now. Okay, and then second, you have to give the unit. Okay, so first, as mentioned, you have to give the symbol for the parameter. Okay, physical quantity here. This will be the mass. Then D will be the distance moving for the cardboard. Okay, then second will be unit. So you can see here, gram will be the unit we use where we follow the unit used in the question. Or the mass of the marble is given already. If you still notice the checklist, okay, the checklist. Okay, then the cm will be from the measurement of ruler. Okay, so here the primary reading must be follow the question for mass, which is listed in the checklist. Okay, and then for D, we measure by using the ruler. So that means that we have to follow ruler sensitivity. Okay, so you will get the third and fourth tick. Okay, and this is what I mentioned to you. So the meter rule will be have 1 decimal place between the segment, right? So this is 0. So we have about 10 segments to go for 1. So that means the smallest division here will be 0.1. Okay, so your answer can just leave with 0.1, 1 decimal place. Okay, so this is this of the value given the checkpoint checklist already. So we just follow. Okay, so here you have to follow the sensitivity. So as mentioned, will be 1 decimal place. Okay, if you want to give second decimal place, you can see sometimes your measurement may be at the middle, right? So you can give up to 0.052 decimal places, but your second decimal places will be only 0 or 5. Oh, so if I say the value you're going to measure is here. So although the point you take is closer to the 0.1 here, 0.1 here, it will be 0. So we still give the value here as 0.15. You cannot give 0.18 where you assume that it is closest to the next segment already. Okay, so that means that the second decimal place we only accept 0 or 5. But here I straight away use the 1 decimal place. Okay, it'll be easier actually. Okay, so if you fulfill these 4 tick, you will get full marks, 3 marks for this question. Okay, so total you can get 8 marks already. Okay, so now the next question can be asked for this experiment will be like this. So carry out the experiment plan in 1A. So we carry out already. Okay, so now based on the experiment conducted, state your observation on the distance moved by cardboard after the collection from marbles from plastic to glass to steel. Okay, so you can see the mass for plastic is only 5 grams, or labeled in the checklist already. Okay, then the glass will be about 15 grams, then steel be 25. Okay, so this is increases of the mass. Okay, so here the first mark question asks about what you can observe, right? So here the distance moved by the cardboard will be actually increases from the plastic marbles to the steel. So answer will be increased. Then you can get the first mark. So this is just go through the figure you get at the tabulation right just now. So if you still remember just how we go through, so the first 5 grams for plastic marbles will be about 2.2 cm. So for the glass marbles about 15.0 grams. So the distance is about 6.2. Then for steel marbles we get is about 9.8 cm. So you can see when the mass of the marbles increase, the distance will be increased. Okay, so you give increase, you can get the first mark already. Okay, then the second question asks you to explain. 2 marks. Okay, it's 2 marks actually. Okay, 2 marks. Okay, so explain your answer in C1. Why, when the mass increases, then the distance moved by cardboard after collection will increase. Okay, so the first just now you have to give because of the mass increases from the plastic to glass to steel marbles. So this will be the first mark. Okay, then the second, So when the mass increases, that means that the momentum will be increases. So you can see the statement, the distance moved by the cardboard increases accordingly. Accordingly, due to the greater momentum of higher mass of marble. So you can see, look at the formula here, right? So when m increases, momentum increases, causes the distance for the cardboard after collection increases. Okay, so the next question, state the relationship between the mass and the distance moved by the cardboard after the collection. Okay, so just now we had go through already the reading, right? So when the mass of the marbles increases from 5 to 25, right? So the distance of the cardboard moving will be start from 2.2 and out with 9.8. So that means here will be mass increase, the distance moved by the cardboard after correction will be increased. So increase lah. Okay, so the higher the mass of the marbles, the higher the distance moved by the cardboard after the correction. So this will be the background answer for question number C. Okay, so here total we can get how many marks already? Just now we go through the first question 5 marks, tabulation 3 marks. So here is a observation question, right? So here is about 4 marks already. So you can get 12 marks already. So the total marks for the section C will be 50 marks. So we go through another 3 marks question. Okay, so we are designed for this end of the experiment. Okay, so here suggest another way to increase the distance of cardboard, to move. Okay, so that means we have to increase the D. So other than changing the marbles type and justify your answer, 2 marks. So what you can do, suggest the way, 1 mark, and then explain the way you do. Okay, so here, okay, so first suggestion here, decrease the height or slope of the ruler. Okay, so this is the way you do, first mark. Explain or justify your answer. So because when we decreases the height, so that means this is a book. So the height decreases already. So that means the distance here we reduce. Okay, so here the speed of the marbles going down will be decreased. Okay, so hence the momentum will be decreases also. So this is a reason. Okay, so how we can decrease the distance? Causes the cardboard to move, become shorter. Okay, so here we reduce the speed and reduce the momentum by decrease the slope, okay, of the ruler. So 2 marks already. So here we have another suggestion answer. Okay, so here we have to increase the mass of the cardboard. So cardboard, we have to increase the mass, because when the mass increases, the force needed to cause the cardboard to move at the same acceleration will be more. So that means that the cardboard will have lower acceleration. Okay, when the cardboard mass increases. Okay, so this is 2 ways where we can decreases the distance for the cardboard to move. Okay, so the last question for the design question for this 15 marks experiment will be this. So how does this experiment demonstrate the law of conservation of momentum? Okay, so the law of conservation of momentum tells us that the momentum before and after collection will be the same. Okay, so how you can relate to this experiment? Okay, the answer suggestion will be this. So the momentum from the marbles is transferred to the cardboard during the correction. Okay, so total momentum before and after remain conserved. So we're assuming that the friction can be minimum or in the case of transferring of momentum from the marbles to the cardboard. Okay, so this is a suggestion answer for this question. Okay, so however here I am doing more extra question where might be related for this experiment. So the first is a common question you're going to see. So it's a 3 variable for the experiment. So here started with the manipulated variable. Okay, just now we are very clear already. The manipulated variable here will be the different mass of the marbles now. So answer, suggestion we mass of the marbles. Okay, then the responding variable we measure the moving distance of the cardboard after the marbles collide the cardboard. So this is what we measure. So distance moved by the cardboard after the collection. So will be the responding variable. Okay, so how about the constant variable? Okay, so the suggestion answer here will be the height and the position from which the marble released. So just how we're using the physics textbook, right? So we have a ruler, okay, like this. Okay, so the height must be always the same. Then the position of the marbles released must be also the same. Okay, so here the answering technique for verbal, you must give the variable which is measurable. So we reject any answer like type of book, type of marbles. So type of the books and marble is not measurable. So will be rejected for answer in verbal. Okay, then here we have second extra question. Okay, so based on the information and observation, state one suitable inference. Okay, so inference we have the technique to answer. So here you can using this method. The RV depends on MV. So just now we are very clear already. Our RV will be distance moving of the cardboard where after the collection of the marbles. So it depends on the mass of the marbles, which is a MV for this experiment. So the reference answer will be this. Distance moved by the cardboard after collection. This is the RV. It depends on mass of marbles will be the RV. Okay, so this is the way how we answer for inference question. Okay, then the next will be suitable hypothesis. Okay, so what is a suitable hypothesis? So you can using when MV increase or decrease, your RV will be increase or decrease. So suggestion answer. So when the mass of the object increases, distance moved by the cardboard after collection increases. Okay, so this is the way how we give the hypothesis. So the next extra question here is related to plotting the graph. Okay, so here the question asks you to plot a graph D against M. Okay, so normally plotting a graph, we need to have minimum 5 points. However, because I want to introduce you the answering technique for plotting the graph, okay, so here I'm using the 3 data here to explain. Okay, so as mentioned, the graph to ask you to plot here will be the D against M. Okay, so we have axis X and Y. So the first, okay, so here you have 7 tick you need to fulfill so that you can get full marks on 3 here. Okay, so first you have to give the symbol. So you can see here the mass given symbol as M. Okay, then the distance of moving of the cardboard will be D. So first you have to give the symbol at axis X and Y. Second, you have to give the unit at axis X and Y, where will be gram for X axis, cm for Y axis. Okay, then the third, you have to give the correct scale. So normally we're using multiple 1, 2, 5, or 10. The starting point will be easier for us, is actually 0. Okay, it's 0, and then your scale must be cover the minimum value and maximum value here. Then will be these two. Okay, so the suggestion will be this. So the axis X will be, okay, so the axis S will be 1 unit with 1 cm. Then for X axis will be 1 unit to 5 gram. Okay, then the next, we must plot our graph better than 4 times 5. 4 unit times 5 unit. Okay, so this is the minimum size. That means that you have to plot at least half graph lah. Okay, so for smallest division for y-axis, just I mentioned to you already. So it will be 1 cm, actually 1 unit equivalent to 1 cm. So 1 unit we have 10 box. So divide 10, that means a small box here represents 0.1. Then for the y-axis, 1 unit represent 5. So we divide 10, that means a smaller box will be 0.5 gram. Okay, so the first point for our data here will be 5 with, okay, so here actually 2.2 2.2. Okay, so this will be here. Okay, and then 15 will be here. Be 6.2 will be around here. Okay, will be here. Then the third point will be 25 and 9.8 actually. Oh, it's 9.8 I want. Okay, so after we get this point, so this tick number 5, plot all the graph, all the point correctly. Okay, then you have to draw the best-line. Okay, so what is the best-line here? So here we have 2 requirements. First, the straight line will be this, top and bottom here. We have 1 point. So 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point. So 1 point, 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 1 minus 1 equal to 0. So that means that this is a baseline. Okay, so if I say we have 2 point on the top, 0 point at bottom, 2 minus 0 will be 2. So that means that it's not 0 or 1. So this will be considered not the baseline. You have to adjust your line again. Okay, then the distance between the point to the line must be less than 0.5. So if you fulfill these two requirements, your baseline is correctly ready to draw already. Okay, so the next, so here I want to highlight to you the summary of the answering technique for plotting the graph. So first will be, we need to give the symbol. We need to give a symbol. Then second, we have to give the unit. Symbol with this, unit with this. For x-axis and y-axis, then we need to give uniform skew. Multiple 1, 2, 5, and 10. And then we have to give size of the graph must be at least half of the graph round. Then the next will be all the plot is correctly. So here I have only 3 points now. So normally it will be 5 points as I mentioned to you just now. Okay, then the baseline, we have two requirements just now I also explained already. If you fulfill these 7 tick, you can get full 3 marks for this question. Okay, then let us go through the related question to the graph also. Okay, so here the first question, based on the graph, set the relationship. Okay, so from the graph here you can see very clear. So our graph, straight line passing through origin, it should be the direct proportional. Okay, you can look at the relationship you learned at Form 4 Chapter 1 already. So here x and y is direct proportional. Okay, so D is direct proportional to M because the straight line is passing through origin. Okay, if your graph is like this, not passing through origin, it starts from a certain value here. It's a straight line like this. So you have to give y increases linearly with x. So that means that if your graph will be like this, so the relationship here should be D increases linearly with M. Okay, so you have to follow the graph you draw lah. Okay, then the next. So based on the graph at E3 will be this. So determine the gradients. Okay, so gradients you have to draw big enough triangle like this. Okay, at least half graph lah. Okay, you can plot just like this, and then we have 2 points. Okay, so here will be 25, 9.8. Here will be 0, 0. Okay, so here our y-axis is cm, our x-axis is gram. So you divide, you get 1.96 cm per gram. So you have to give correct unit for your gradients. Okay, so then the next here, okay, so here will be the last question for our discussion related to this end of the experiment. Okay, so predict the change in the gradients of the graph if the surface beneath the cardboard was rougher. So what happened to your gradients? Okay, so I means that if the surface of the cardboard below the cardboard we have rougher surface, what is the impact for your gradients really? Become higher, lower, or remain the same? Okay, so you have to understand what the graph tells us actually. Okay, so the graph you can see here is cm per gram. So that means that the gradients actually tell us that how much the distance will be going to move with increases of the mass of the marbles. So that means that we expected when we have greater mass, so the value D will be increases. Okay, so here if we have rougher surface, so that means that the rougher surface will be increase the friction, causes the motion of the cardboard becomes slower. Becomes slower, so that means that the distance moving for the cardboard with the same mass will be decreases if we using the same marbles. Okay, so that means that the gradients will be decreases when the cardboard is placed above a rougher surface. Okay, placed on the rougher surface. So here you should give decreases. So the graph will be like this. Okay, so these new gradients we expected, which will be decreases. Okay, so thank you everyone. So that's all for my sharing for this experiment related to momentum. Okay, so see you next time. Bye bye.